if you want to crown them, but they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
The Armchair Quarterback Show, weekdays, coast to coast, Southern Sports Talk Radio. Your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Spot here is your ex, but if that's the call, Mike, Will, and Sam all have to know their shift. Open palms to post, thumbs ups across her, thumbs downs and out. Trevor, why don't you get up here and draw that for us?
Playing real football is hard. Playing fantasy football when you got the Armchair Quarterbacks by your side makes it a lot easier. Make sure to join the Armchair Quarterbacks right here. We'll answer all your questions, pickups, trades, you name it. You want to win your league? Then listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. And don't be scared to tap that app. Find the Armchair Quarterbacks app today.
Fantasy football time.
Do you want to lose 18 pounds fast and improve your health? Now you can lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months with Nutrisystem. Get delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners, even snacks and shakes delivered safely to your door. All delivered for free. It's easy to follow, and you'll see results in your first week. Just text BURN to 323232. You'll get your favorite foods made healthier and perfectly balanced to put your body in fat burning mode. Text BURN to 323232 right now and get 50% off a month of meals and shakes. That's right, 50% off a month of meals and 50% off a month of shakes with probiotics to help support your immune system. Just text BURN to 323232 right now. There's even a money-back guarantee. Millions of people have lost weight with Nutrisystem, and you can too. Lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months. Just text BURN to 323232. That's BURN to 323232.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out.
What's happening in sports? Find out when it happens. Get the CBS Sports app free in the Android Market and iTunes App Store.
Are you a gun enthusiast? Love to shop for guns, but are also looking for friendly service? Well, you're in luck. Here in St. Augustine, Top Gun Supply is the friendly gun shop. Staff is very knowledgeable, happy to see you when you walk through the door, and can assist you with all your gun shopping needs. Top Gun Supply stocks a wide range of firearms, such as Ruger, Beretta, 6 Hour, HK, and LWRC. So stop on by at Top Gun Supply at 525 State Road 16 in St. Augustine. Top Gun Supply here in St. Augustine, the friendly gun shop, a proud sponsor of the Armchair Quarterbacks.
This helpful instructional message from the National Association of People Who Have Trouble Walking and Chewing Gum at the same time. Step, chew, step, chew, step, chew, step, chew.
SEC, SEC, SEC.
Now with Prime.
You done messed up, Aaron. Now take your ass on down to Oshag Hennessy's office right now and tell him exactly what you did. Oshag Hennessy.
Principal O'Shaughnessy?
Get out of my damn classroom before I break my foot off in your ass. Insubordinate and churlish. Timothy.
Present.
Thank you.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
But what the hell, boy?
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
It's morning.
Yes, and what a lovely morning.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Never stretch. Rip your hamstrings off your thighs. Be a man.
Go down. Think fast.
Listen, that child is going to be a pro athlete.
You're supposed to catch it.
I wasn't ready.
Armchair.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Hump Day in Major League Baseball? Well, that usually means some matinees, and sure enough, it gets rolling at 1:10 Eastern with the Tampa Bay Rays and the Seattle Mariners. At 7:05 Eastern, you've got the Yankees hosting the Orioles. The Dark Knight is back in Gotham to clash with James Tyon. Erod and the Red Sox, they're in Detroit to see what this Casey Mize is all about. The Atlanta Braves and Drew Smyly battle the Cardinals at 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. J.A. Happ, fresh off the trade from Minnesota, he'll suit up for the Redbirds for the first time. Cubs and Rockies, 8:40 Eastern, Alec Mills, John Gray, and other games around the league. Beginning at 12:35, you got the Twins and Reds with Luis Castillo on the hill. The Pirates and Brewers finish up their series. Chad Kuhl and Freddie Peralta will entertain the Miller Lite crowd in Milwaukee. At 3:37 Eastern, you got the Padres at the A's. Joe Musgrove and Frankie Montas by the Bay. 7:05 Eastern, Phillies, Nationals. Vincent Velasquez and Paulo Espinino. Got to be a diehard fan of one of those to tune into that junk. Indians and Blue Jays, J.C. Mejia and Steven Matz will face off. And the Mets and Cookie Carrasco, his second start since coming off the IL for the year. He's in Miami to go head-to-head with Zach Thompson and his 2.33 ERA. At 8:05 Eastern, you got the Angels and Rangers with Kobe Allard Day in the Lone Star State. Royals and White Sox at 8:10. Lucas Giolito and Carlos Hernandez. And at 9:40, the rabble-rousing continues. Jake Odorizzi and Max Scherzer, his first start since coming over from the Nats. It's to be noted, Max Scherzer and his Nationals also faced the cheating Astros in the World Series in 2019. Though they got the better of them, I'm sure Scherzer will understand the rivalry. And at 9:40 Eastern, Kevin Gausman is in the desert to battle the Diamondbacks with Zach Gallen on the hill. The commissioners of the Big 12 and Pac-12 conferences met Tuesday to discuss the viability and strategic partnership between the conferences with the ESPN and abroad. The meetings were first reported by The Athletic, does not signify an expectation for an official partnership to materialize, only that both commissioners are vetting options for how they move forward in the wake of Texas and Oklahoma's decision to leave the Big 12 for the Southeastern Conference. In an appearance before the Texas Senate on Tuesday, Bowlesby raised the possibility of the Big 12 partnering or merging with another conference at Pac-12 Media Day last week. Quote, "We're on purpose in not reaching out and trying to poach any schools, but my phone has blown up, absolutely blown up over the last 5 days," unquote, by the Pac-12 commissioner. He continued, quote, "I think over time the dominoes will fall, starting with the result move of Texas and Oklahoma, and we're not determining that we need to expand in order to thrive quite yet. We can thrive at 12. We don't understand the paradigm that if someone else has 16, you need to have 16. It just doesn't make any sense." Klevkov, the Pac-12 commissioner, was hired about a month ago. He was hired to replace longtime commissioner Larry Scott in May. A law firm hired by the NCAA to investigate gender equity issues released a report that recommended holding the men's and women's Final Fours at the same site, same time, and offering financial incentives to schools to improve their women's basketball programs as ways to address the association's shortcomings. The review was held by Kaplan, Heckler, and Fink and had been highly anticipated. The firm was hired in March after the social media posts showing the NCAA's failure to provide similar amenities to the men's as to the women's game. In a statement, the Board of Governors said it is wholly committed to an equitable experience among its championships and called on all to help out. The report noted disparities and were not confined to this year's tournaments. NCAA revenues surpassed $1 billion in the year before the pandemic, and almost $900 million of that was tied to the media right deal with CBS and Turner for the men's tournament exclusively. The women's tournament, meanwhile, is a part of a package with more than 24 other NCAA championships that ESPN owns and pays the NCAA about $34 million per year through 2023-2024. So the disparity makes a lot of sense, but the report goes on. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast. Saturday mornings, 8:30 Eastern. Dixie Football Nation is back and better than ever. We've got Tony Agolini, Matt Carr, Tones Ariola, Bobby and Angelo, along with Mac McGee this fall. Dixie Football Nation heads to the gridiron, talking ACC, SEC, the Big 10, and all the big games throughout the college football land. That's Dixie Football Nation, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, Saturday mornings on the Armchair Quarterback Show's YouTube channel, going live. Or catch the instant replay. Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, the Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Sean O'Toole.
Good morning, Mr. Mac McGee. I don't know much, but I know one thing. Hey, Dodgers fans, if you are going to throw trash cans on the field, at least stay for the ninth inning. You didn't do it last night. I don't like you. I've never liked you. And I'm going to enjoy watching somebody beat you in the playoffs. Probably going to be the Brewers. I hope it's the Braves, but it's probably going to be the Brewers.
Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. The Dodgers were throwing trash cans. The Dodger fans were throwing trash cans on the field. The Dodgers were swinging trash cans. They get blanked at home the first time that they played the Astros after all that hubbub. Hell, you weren't even facing Verlander. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Have you ever done this kind of work before? Well, book reports. Who do you read? I like Mike Lupica. Mike Lupica? He's a sports writer for the Daily News. I find him very insightful. No. I mean author. A lot of good ones. Yeah. A lot of good ones. I don't even want to mention anybody because I'm afraid I'm going to leave somebody out. Who do I like? I like Art Vandelay. Art Vandelay? He's an obscure writer. Beatnik, from the village. What's he written? Venetian Blinds. Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man. With a cool one in his ear. Yeah, the
Hey, howdy, hi. Top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. Mac McGee and Mr. Sean O'Toole. Sean, how the hell are you this morning, my friend?
It was a wonderful weekend in Atlanta, and the Braves won last night and are now, right on the heels of them dirty, overspending Mets. And the Tigers, I had a lot of expectations for this season. But if they finish over 500 and in second place of the division, and don't scoff at that because they're 2.5 games back in Cleveland, A.J. Hinch should get some votes for manager of the year. He won't, but he should.
Honestly, I think they're playing pretty damn good baseball. And when we talked about this on the Catbird seat on Monday morning, because we always go over what the Red Sox have in front of them, what the Rays and Yankees have in front of them. Of course, we thought the Yankees and Rays were going to be just cruising past Seattle, and well, not necessarily cruise past Seattle, but they've dropped the first two. We didn't expect that.
Seattle is Rays proof. That makes no sense to me.
And then the Yankees finally get off the schneid gets the terrible Baltimore Orioles by bringing a kid up last minute. Luis Heel that comes in and fires 6 shutout innings. He's one of like 6 or 7 Yankees to ever do that in the history of Yankee baseball. I was reading up on that last night, and you would have never heard of any of the others. There was like a guy in the early 90s. There was like another guy in our lifetime. And then everyone else is from like the 30s and the 06s and 07s and the dead ball era. And none of them were big names. None of them went on to be Hall of Famers or anything like that. So congratulations to Luis Hill. That I'm sure he loved the fact that he was rewarded by getting sent right back down to Grant. He's like, get on the bus, son. Got the W? Awesome. We'll see you maybe next spring. Okay. The other thing that we got to talk about this. Dodgers, Astros. The hell, man!
Oh, yeah.
You don't even get off the mat and score a run. A run?
Nope.
By the way, I banged that big time. I took the under on that sucker. I was a happy camper this morning when I woke up.
So for diehard baseball fans like you and me, people that listen to the show, Lance McCullers ain't no chump. Lance McCullers is good. He's been good for a while.
Not even get a run.
But he's not right. He's not Don Drysdale. And to not even scrape one across is just like woo.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's pathetic, but it's pathetic. It's like, what are you doing, man? You made this big stink about things. You got to find some way. I'm not saying you had to win that game. It wasn't a have-to win for the Dodgers. They're gonna make the playoffs. I get that, but man, you got to get a run across. And Buehler pitched well, but this is once again what I've been saying all along. This is why they made the move for Scherzer, who, by the way, goes tonight.
Yeah, he does.
They got Scherzer for big moments like this because Buehler will pitch well, but he never has that iconic, that's the guy game. He's always pitched well in the big situations, but you can't rely on him to do an absolute shutdown. And so that's why the guy going tonight was brought on to the Dodgers, because they're not going to have Bauer the rest of the way. It's not official, but it's official. And you're not going to have Dustin May in the mix in your bullpen. You needed Scherzer. Right. You've got Buehler. Nothing wrong with Buehler. You got to have it, because if it ends up being Scherzer versus Darvish, advantage Dodgers-ish. It's not a slam dunk, but they have a slight advantage just because of his pedigree in the playoffs. Darvish has pitched well. Darvish is a great pitcher. I expect him to pitch well in that game because we're heading for a collision there, right? But that's why it was done. The Braves, on the other hand, I've been pounding the desk on this for like 2 weeks. I've been pointing to this part of the schedule, and we haven't even began the schedule. This was the beginning. This is the precursor. If anyone watched Braves Country a couple of weeks ago, I said, look, this is when the Braves are going to make their move, if they're going to make their move. And it's going to be at the end of the Marlins series, though they always struggle in Miami. I didn't expect them to drop the first two. They have a chance to lose this series outright because they're going to face Zach Thompson and Trevor Rogers the next 2 days. Those are their two best pitchers, to be honest with you. And so the Mets, telling you, Taijuan Walker was Spider Tack Gate all along. That dude sucked. He is. I've got him in the rotisserie league. I'm terrified to start him again. He has sucked, and I got that one too. By the way, took the Marlins on the money line. I don't believe in Taijuan Walker anymore. It's going to be all up to Marcus Stroman, and I don't believe in that. I believe if he has maybe 6 starts left, he's going to have 4 really, really, really good starts. He's going to have a dud, and he's going to have that's not bad. That's not going to be enough to win you the division, unfortunately. DeGrom, I'm telling you, if they start spiraling, we won't see DeGrom the rest of the year. The Mets have to find a way. Everyone else in that clubhouse has to find a way to stay in it until the first-ish week of September, maybe even the second week, when they could get DeGrom back.
Yeah, counting on Stroman's always been a rough proposition for me because guys who don't strike anybody out, and he's a very low strikeout. He's a high contact ground ball pitcher. A couple of those. Now, again, you fortified the middle of the defense by bringing in Baez. That middle of the defense will be solid. Probably the best middle of the defense in all of baseball once Lindor comes back. But a couple of C&I singles, couple of bleeders, a bloop, and you're down 3-0. And that's the problem with a guy like that. The Tigers called up Matt Manning, and he wasn't striking anybody out in AAA. And that was my concern about them calling him up was this guy's not a high strikeout guy. He needs to learn how to paint the corners and pitch, because if he's just going to throw 95 in the zone and his curveball, it's going to be a long day. And that's kind of what's happened. Stroman, same thing. Is not a guy who's ever struck anyone out. So yeah, the Mets are, we haven't even talked about Philly. I mean, they got no bullpen, none, zero, because Dombrowski's incapable of building one. But
they did add Kennedy. They did add Kennedy, and realize something. They're on a collision course Friday night, Mets Phillies.
Yep.
So
big series.
The Braves have an absolute golden opportunity. If they can win the series against St. Louis, I'm not expecting a sweep. That's a little asinine to go, I'm going to St. Louis and sweep. They know you want it, but I laid this out on Braves Country yesterday. For people who are Braves fan and want to watch that, I've gone down to just 2 shows a week. It's the beginning of each series. Okay. Now, when we hit the playoffs, we'll be doing it every day. But I've got so much football content that I'm doing right now. It's just I'm just like between that and working 50 hours a week at a quote unquote a real job. So I laid this out, the fact that, okay, the Cardinals have 4 lefties in their rotation for the first time in over 60 years. Okay. The Braves are going to face 3 lefties, and I hit the nail on the head. I'm pretty proud of it. Jorge Soler, slam, bam. I said, I thought Jorge Soler would have a series. I believe Adam Duvall is going to have a series. You're going to get 2 more lefties the next 2 nights. And these guys came in at the perfect time. And this is why they need to be in the lineup. They need to be, I loved putting Jorge Soler in the number 2 slot last night. Ozzy still is a little strange as a leadoff hitter because he's not a leadoff hitter. He's got leadoff.
He's really not.
He's got skills. He just won't use them. When this guy first came up, he used to drop drag bunts. He doesn't use them, but it is what it is. You're not going to convince Snicker how to play actual baseball. So snitty ball it is, and we've got to overcome that. But they got 5 runs in the first inning, and I expect the Braves to score quite a few runs in one of these next 2 games. J.A. Happ's coming in tonight. He's got a 6.77 ERA, another lefty.
That's funny because I was just going to say the Cardinals basically they got off to a hot start, and they've basically been the Minnesota Twins for the last 60 days. If you look at their record, and they went and grabbed J. Happ from the Twins, who the Tigers just put a 10 spot on him last week in that crazy 17-14 game.
And Lester, who is like a shadow of his former self. I don't know what
Lester was washed when the A's acquired him, and he started in the wild card game against Kansas City. That was 5 years ago.
I don't know about that, man. He won the World Series, dude. I mean, come on now. He won the World Series in 2016. And he was a big part of it. But it was a strange trading deadline for the Cardinals to go get 2 lesser than lefties. I was like, why are they loading up on lefties? Is this, I mean, it has to be to catch the Brewers, but I'm sorry, that ship has sailed. You're 10 out with 50
and the Brewers
to play.
I saw them up close and personal. I mean, the Brewers are good. Brewers might be the 3rd best team in baseball. Like, and nobody's talking about that because
best
Milwaukee, but
best right now today, the Milwaukee Brewers are the best team in baseball, and I don't even think it's close. I think the Milwaukee Brewers, if they started the tournament today, the Brewers win the World Series and they win in about 5 or 6 games against whoever the American League was. Now, there's a lot that's going to happen between now and then. Injuries, guys get ice cold. But
is Willie Adames gonna keep hitting like Mickey Mantle? Probably not. So
he's done a hell of a job, and then they bring in Escobar, and I'm telling you that they know how to build a roster. They are very Tampa Bay Rays like, and it's because they don't have the marquee name that everyone goes, oh man, I love that guy. They don't have that one marquee name that everyone's in love with. Yelich is the closest thing, maybe Josh Hader, till he got cancel cultured 3 years ago, where the hell that was. But they don't, even their 2 best pitchers, who are 2 of the best pitchers in baseball, nobody even knows who the hell they are for whatever reason.
Unless you're a fantasy guy. Yeah.
You're like
Burns and Woody.
Woodruff. What is he good? Yeah, he leads the National League in ERA. He's kind of good. But yeah, but anyways, we can go on about this all day long. We have got to go to the first quarter because Michigan Wolverine Day here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. So I'm just going to go take a napping. Call me about 40 minutes and we'll wrap up the show. We're going to talk the Tigers, not Tigers. Well, we kind of talked the Tigers. We're going to talk the Wolverines. We're going to talk the Lions. We're going to talk the Michigan State Spartans. This is Michigan Day. This is for Sean O'Toole. And this is for all the Michigan fans. So let's get into it, man. Let's talk about them Wolverines, baby. Are they going to do the unthinkable and upend the Ohio State Buckeyes in 2021?
No, not even a little bit. But I'll be happy to go through the things I like about this team and what they did in the offseason. But here's the rub, and if you've listened to me for longer than 6 weeks, I'm going to say the same thing. Jim Harbaugh is the best thing to happen to Michigan football since we forced Lloyd Carr into early retirement. But that doesn't mean he's Ryan Day. That doesn't mean he's James Franklin. That doesn't mean he's even Tom Allen, who has suddenly really usurped the entire Big Ten pecking order and turned Indiana into a football power after just a magical season last year. I think Michigan has some nice returning talent. Again, as Michigan does every year, lost a lot of guys to the draft, lost a few to the transfer portal, but brings back Aiden Hutchinson on the defensive line, which was not something I expected. I thought he would come out for sure. I mean, he was projected to be at worst a top 15 pick, and is one of the better defensive linemen we've had there in over a decade. But I thought for sure he would come out. The fact that he didn't is really good. The biggest changes that were made, honestly, was in the coaching staff. I mean, Don Brown had been there a long time. I really like Don, but they weren't recruiting the players that fit his scheme. Don Brown's scheme is a very 4 rushers, man coverage, allow the linebackers to be in space heavy kind of a system. And what they kept recruiting over and over and over were these undersized speed corners who would just couldn't jam anybody at the line of scrimmage. I mean, they couldn't jam my son because they're 6'1", 180 pounds. And if they try to jam my son, they'd be just turned into ash because he's, 5'10" and beefy. So what they've done now is they've traded him out for our new defensive coordinator, who's McDonald, who's going to run a little bit more, of a complex scheme, a little bit more zone, a little bit more 4-2-5 kind of stuff, and force the defense to beat them in the trenches with the run attack instead of just blowing them away over the top, which is what's been happening in the last couple of years. It's all going to come down to the quarterback. I don't know who's going to win the quarterback job. The early scuttlebutt out of there is that McNamara has the early lead because he finished the season so well. He did kind of play well down the stretch once he went in for Milton, who, torched Minnesota and then was never heard from again and entered the transfer portal. I forgot where he even ended up. But hot on his heels, 5-star high school recruit, Joe Milton.
Did he go to Tennessee?
It might be that. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Positive.
It is because it popped up. Yeah, it popped up on the radar here. And I was like, So JJ McCarthy, again, new quarterback coach, Matt Weiss. Josh Gaddis has been the offensive coordinator for a couple of years, but it's basically Harbaugh's offense. And Gaddis just kind of calls the formations. We'll see. But early returns are that it's going to be McNamara and McCarthy's going to redshirt. Because everybody that's seen JJ McCarthy really, really likes it. Thinks this is a Michigan kind of quarterback, tall, strong, can run well. McNamara is much more of a, I don't want to make this sound the way it's going to sound, but much more of a Sam Ehlinger, right? A little bit smaller, doesn't have a lead arm strength, but is pretty accurate and can make plays with his legs when things break down. So I think they'll go into the season with McNamara. Zach. On the running back front, I was really disappointed that Zach Charbonnet hit the transfer portal because he was kind of my favorite Michigan running back last year, and I didn't see where he went. But Hassan Haskins is basically going to be the day one starter, and he was on the team last year and gained over 500 yards down at the back end, and Michigan's always going to try and run the ball. So I know we need to go through the schedule. I like what they're returning, but it's all going to come down to the quarterback play. If McNamara is above average or good, you can talk me into 8 wins. If he's not, I think it's 7 or 6. I clearly think this is the 4th best team in the Big Ten East, but it could be 5th if McNamara is bad.
remember something about McCarthy. He was the high school football player of the year in the state of Florida. So, and by the way, I did check it. Milton did go to Tennessee because I was thinking, I was like, that was the guy that when it said Milton transfers to Tennessee, quarterback Milton transfers to Tennessee. What the hell? He just transferred to Florida State from UCF. I was like, what the hell's Milton doing? And I was like, oh, okay. I thought because logically it was he transferred to go join that damn the coach that left UCF to go to Tennessee. And I was like, that's right. And I was like, he was just he used us. And I was like, okay, never mind.
And Charbonnet, I just checked on it, transferred to UCLA, which does make a bit of sense because he's from Camarillo, California. So maybe post-COVID family stuff, you never really know. I don't want to draw too much between the lines there. That seems like a backwards move because I don't think UCLA is going to be very good, but hurts.
Right.
But
all right, Michigan schedule starts off with Western Michigan. We'll just say this: they better win that. If not, wheels come off. Harbaugh's fired Tuesday morning. It's over.
Washington at home in the night game slot, which is usually, throughout my life was the Notre Dame game, and I wish it still was. But that's interesting because Washington's no slouch. Peterson left some groceries in the cupboard for Jimmy Lake.
Washington
didn't get to see a lot of them last year.
Washington's very good. I did a breakdown of them a couple of weeks ago, and
they're good.
Washington's gonna give Oregon everything they want as far as making a run to represent the North in the Pac-12. Okay, Northern Illinois at home, that should be a win. Rutgers at home, that should be a win. I know it was a battle last year in New Jersey, but they should beat. Although I do like a lot what Greg Schiano is doing. At Wisconsin's going to be brutal. Wisconsin's,
and that's a house of horrors for Harbaugh too. I mean, he isn't. Not only has he not won there, those games haven't even been competitive. They've all been like whitewashings. So
right, was it last year or was it the year before that it was like a battle of top 10 or top 15 teams, and then Wisconsin like just smokes them like 35-0 with it because he was like a 4 tight end set. Like, what the hell is going on here?
It was 2 years ago, and it was about the third play of the game when Jonathan Taylor went like off tackle left and went for 75 yards, and I started drinking. I don't remember the end of that game. So yeah, that's a house of horrors for Michigan, going all the way back to Barry Alvarez. So that's not great.
At Nebraska, I think that's a win. But
yeah, you and I are both down on Nebraska. I'm not buying the Frost sauce.
That is a tough environment because they sell out every single time. Northwestern at home at Michigan State, who we'll talk about next hour, and Indiana at home is going to be tough at Penn State. Now that's back to back of at Michigan State at home against Indiana at Penn State. That's going to be rough. And then they finish off with at Maryland and at home against Ohio State. No bye weeks after
mid-October.
Once they hit the Northwestern game on the 23rd of October, there's no bye weeks, which is a little different, right? So what say you? I'm going to put their over-under on the regular season. I'm going to put their over-under. So we got 12 games. I'll put their over-under at 8.5. What say you?
Under.
Really?
I would put $1,000 on the under. That last 5 games, no, I don't think he gets fired. Really? I don't think there's any way that they fire him.
How's it going to get him fired?
He might resign. He might resign, especially if you look at those last 5 games at Michigan State, who Mel Tucker's a good recruiter. We'll see what he does. We'll talk about them next hour. Home for Indiana. That's a loss. At Penn State, that's a loss. Home for Ohio State, the last game of the season, that's a loss. And at Maryland, I'm not crazy about Maryland, but that's a tough place to play. And you've got a Tagovailoa playing quarterback there. That's not the easiest environment to go into. Listen, if he finishes those last 5 games 1-4, and the only win is at Maryland, and then gets boat raced or plays in the Music City Bowl, I mean, they're not going to fire him, but he's probably going to resign. I don't think they'll fire him though. Because
They did.
again, I've stated before.
Did just
who are you going to
lock
get?
him up, right?
Yep, they did.
Did they
Allegedly,
give him an extension, or was it 4-year?
They did an extension. It was a 4-year extension. Yep.
So they're screwed.
I just don't think they're getting rid of him. I mean, you're the 4th best team in the Big Ten right now, and no, he's not going to resign because he has nowhere to go. But you're the 4th best team in the Big Ten East right now, and are you going to give him time to try and raise the program up a level? Or
Sean, the best way to fix that, being the 4th best team in the Big Ten East, is to bring in a couple teams like Iowa State and whatnot and then reconstruct the divisions.
Yeah, which they're working on right now.
Can we go to the West?
Right.
Can we go over there and play Wisconsin and Minnesota? And at least we can probably be the 2nd best team. All right. Well, I think they're probably under 8.5. I think that's going to be very disappointing to Michigan fans. I think they're going to they're eventually going to. But if they lose, let's say they win 7 games, but they beat Ohio State, all's forgiven.
Oh, dude, let me tell you, I think they're probably 6-1 after the Northwestern game. Like, I think they'll probably only lose at Wisconsin in those first.
You don't think
7
they'll lose
games
to Washington?
I think they could, but the fact that it's at home and it's at Saturday night on ABC, I think they'll be up for that game. I think that'll be a good game, but I think they can absolutely win that game. But they'll be 6-1, and then it's just about, where's the taste in the mouth at the end of the season? Because if you lose 4 of the last 5, and Ohio State comes into the big house again and beats us by 30,
I've got them losing to Washington in a close one. I've got them losing to Wisconsin. I think they probably lose to Indiana, although it is at home. And then they probably lose to Penn State. So that gets them to 7-4 in my head going into the Ohio State game. If they can win that Ohio State game, it elevates. It helps.
Oh yeah, he just needs one. He just needs to beat him once.
On that game plan today, if I'm Harbaugh, I don't give a damn if I go 0-11. If I go 1-11 and that one team that I beat was Ohio State, I'm talking about every week, Sean. I'm implementing at least one thing we're going to do against Ohio State. Wait a minute.
Ohio State.
Wait a minute. What? Western Michigan runs the wishbone. Why are we? Because Ohio State doesn't run the wishbone. Let's go. That would be my goal.
There's a lot of yuck amongst Big Ten fans that I know that Ohio State's replacing a lot of starters, and I'm like, don't fall for that. I hear that every couple of years in Alabama, and it doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter at Ohio State either, because all of his prospects are blue chips. So we'll see if it matters, but they are replacing a lot of starters to the NFL, and Ohio State's on both sides of the ball. So we'll see if that means anything. I don't think it does, because I think Ryan Day's that good.
All right, we'll be back in a flash. When we come back, it's Lions, and we'll talk to Michigan State Spartans.
We got a tie. We need to fix it. We need a tiebreaker.
I agree. Ties are not acceptable in fantasy football. Fantasy football is about proving that you are better than your friends, not equally as good as your friends, okay? It's not communism. We're not coveting Billy Joel cassette tapes and wearing ill-fitting blue jeans.
Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
Hey, so Kennedy, so
Don't try to strike everybody out. Strikeouts are boring. Besides that, they're fashion. Throw some ground ball. More democratic.
It's the Armchair Quarterbacks weekdays right here on CBS Sports Radio. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports here on the First Coast.
Just a bit outside.
Shut up, idiot. Moron! You bob for apples in the toilet, and you like it. You play ball like a girl. Come on. We'll take you on right here, right now. Come on. Yeah.
Hi, friend. It's your home speaking, and I need some favors. Could you turn on some of the lights in the basement? I'm scared of the dark. Also, this one is easy. Could you bundle your home and car insurance with Geico so we could save money? Last thing, just a suggestion. Could you steam clean the carpets? I need a spa day.
Geico. For bundling made easy, go to geico.com today.
That
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
What does it take to break you? What does it take to break your focus because you get frustrated about what happened on the last play? What does it take to make you give in because it's hot outside, or you're tired, or you don't feel like running to the ball or giving effort or finishing the play like you should because of how you feel, whether you're a little bit hurt? What does it take to break you? It's going to be difficult because you're getting yourself ready to play an entire season at a high level. So everybody here has got to have a lot of mental toughness to be able to sustain what we do at a high level.
Hi, this is Britney Spears.
What up, this Jay-Z.
This is Jennifer Lopez. Armchair.
What's this I found under your bed? The only Engels you're going to read is Laura Ingalls Wilder.
If you think your child might be a red, here are some warning signs. They read complicated literature and have concern for their fellow man. They even like to share. Tell your kids if someone approaches them with pamphlets about recycling, an invitation to a labor rally, or showing any doubts about the fairness of our system, then they should find a teacher or a policeman immediately.
All right, just wash your hands before you use it. I don't get your germs.
Whoa. Washing your hands is healthy? I did it because it felt good. I have so much to learn.
One more time around the sun, I take it, I run around this world rock and give it all I got.
Good morning. Welcome back here to CBS Sports Radio. As Ben Roethlisberger entering his 18th season at the age of 39, people are still drafting him in fantasy football drafts. Things will never change. Sean, I was in a draft yesterday and 12-man league, and that is someone's starting quarterback.
Give me a break.
They have no backup because I checked the roster afterwards. I was like, well, I'm going to start plucking everything that you might need. Ben Roethlisberger. Wow. All right, let's go ahead and dive into what I think is going to be a really, really fun season for the Detroit Lions.
Oh, do you? I'm interested. Tell me more.
Well, I believe that the Detroit Lions are going to be one of those teams that the outsider, right, the non-fan, the fantasy football fan, whatever, is going to go, oh, they're boring. But you're going to look up at the end of the season. You're like, you know what? Detroit's better. They're a better team than what they were. I like what they're doing with their roster. I'm the jury's still out on what Campbell's going to do, the bite kneecaps thing. And, you know, he worries me as far as a leader in front of the microphone, but I think in the locker room, he might be a hell of a leader. And I also believe that he's going to build, what's the one word we keep hearing around the political circles? Infrastructure. They're going to build
infrastructure.
They're going to build the Detroit Lion infrastructure on the offensive and defensive lines. They're going to they're going to take a different approach than what they've done in years past with Stafford and company. And I think they're going to ask Mr. Goff to play action, which he did really well to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And I think they're going to lean on DeAndre Swift. I think they're going to find ways to make the receiving core work. There's nothing that jumps out at you, but there's some guys like the Brashard Perrymans and the, you know, Raymonds and Williams. They've got some talent there. Do I think they're going to miss Galladay and miss Marvin? Of course, but yeah, you got to move on. But what I'm really excited to watch, I'm excited to watch that Detroit Lions defense, because I think by the end of the season, maybe not at the beginning, but by the end of the season, I think the Detroit Lions could have a top 10, easily top 15 defense in the National Football League.
I don't disagree at all. I was very, very surprised that they brought back Romeo Okwara, who, came out of Notre Dame. They drafted his brother Julian. And I really liked him last year. The motor was there on every play, and you end up listening to too many NFL analytics podcasts. And they're like, well, he doesn't try as hard on first and second down as he does on third down. I'm like, but he's a sack guy. He's trying hard on every down, but obviously you're trying a little bit harder on third down. That's what elite sack guys do, because you want to get off the field. You love to say it. We do love analytics on this show, right? We do podcast, we do a show on Saturday about analytics. We do the handicappers, but you have to watch the game. You cannot base everything on what the computer tells you. You have to watch the game. Romeo Okwara is a very, very good rushing outside linebacker. Now you pair that with Trey Flowers on the other side, who had a kind of a down year last year, but I still think there's a lot in the tank. And he had a couple of really good games where he was in the backfield a lot. And you add Michael Brockers, who is very good coming from the Los Angeles Rams. You buff that up with Jamie Collins, who's still there. You got rid of some of the Patriot Way guys that Patricia and Quinn brought in and just backed up the Brinks truck for. But Flowers, and Collins were the guys that actually produced last year under the pencil head system. And you add that to, the stuff that we already have. I love what they did in the back end, adding Onzarike, adding Melifonwu. Anybody who watched Melifonwu last year in college, and a lot of us did, he's very, very good, right? You hope Okuda is better in this system than he was last year, because let's face it, he couldn't be any worse than he was last year. I mean, he was getting roasted like hot and spicy peanuts last year in that man-heavy system, because that's not who Okuda is. I'm sorry, let me reverse that. They were playing more of a zone system last year. You put him in zone against Devontae Adams, and I mean, he might as well not even be out there. He might as well be standing on the sideline. He is much more of a press man corner, can use his speed and strength.
I don't think zone coverage works in the National Football League anymore.
No, absolutely not.
There's too much players, not just coaches, but players have too much information at their fingertips when they're chilling on the couch at night, and they can pull up any kind of video that their coach sends to them. They can read it. They can read a zone pretty damn quickly. Not just the receiver, but the quarterback. And so it's just, you run a zone nowadays. It's the equivalent of just throwing the white flag up. You're like, well, we're going to lose, but I don't want to lose by a lot.
Right.
We're
going to give Devontae Adams the 7 yards, and then good luck tackling him. Like, it's Devontae Adams. What's the matter with you?
The zone defense in the National Football League works about as well as the full court press in the NBA. Okay? Or deciding I don't need a driver this week out on the PGA Tour, right? It's just like, what are you doing? Like, quit trying to reinvent the wheel. The kid that I'm most excited about for this team, I'll tell you right now, I think they got an absolute steal. Penei Sewell, 21st pick. When we were doing mock drafts, that kid was top 10. So I think he is going to be, and I'll tell you someone else who fell to them in the 4th round, St. Brown. I'm interested to see what he does. I know it's year one, it's receiver. Normally receivers don't do well in year one, but I'm very interested. By the way, that's kind of been blown up the last couple of years. I mean, he's not Justin Jefferson, but like, he's going to be on the field in their 4 wide receiver sets. So he's going to get a chance to play straight off the bat. Quick update real quick. Russia and Brazil are going toe to toe in the world of women's volleyball. So just keep an eye on that. Anyways, back to right now, Russia has a one game to nothing lead. Anyone but Russia, right? Come on, Brazil. Although I'll tell you what, man, like you watch all these women Russian teams, it's just like, it's ridiculous. Like, what is in the water over there? There's nothing but supermodels walking around out there. Like, y'all are wasting your time playing sports, man. You make a lot more money on the runway. But yeah, I think the Lions are going to be decent. I'm not going crazy over here and saying, oh man, Lions Super Bowl champions.
Playoffs.
Hey, playoffs are not out of the realm of possibility because now you get 7 in each league.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think I'm not considering them right now. You know, we'll do the playoff prediction obviously here in a couple weeks, but they're not on my radar right now. But I haven't even begun to formulate my I always do one sleeper. How'd that work out? Kansas City Royals. But
it was working out great on like May the 7th.
Yeah. Exactly. By May 8th, it was like, what the hell? I never go chalk. I always say that, you know, this is my sleeper team. So what, but looking at their season, by the way, they start their preseason, y'all, a week from Friday.
Yeah, they do. Let's go.
That's by the way, for people, Lions fans, they're playing Buffalo Bills Mafia. That game will be live on NFL Network.
I love it.
Now the NFL Network reruns almost every game. So if your team isn't live, don't forget to look at, you know, it might be 3 a.m, but just set it to record or whatever, which is how that's how I watch most of my preseason action. But that's fun. They're going to be on the NFL Network the first 2 weekends. Buffalo and Pittsburgh are both on the NFL Network, Friday night and Saturday night, respectively. The Colts game is not televised. That revolution will not be televised.
You don't want to watch Jacob Eason versus David Blau. That doesn't move the needle for you.
I'm gonna watch more Indianapolis Colts preseason football than I've ever watched because I want to know. Because I sincerely believe you go 5 to 12 weeks. You give me that. I sincerely think he's closer to 12 weeks than he is 5.
Yeah, he's made out of glass too.
I think they did that for marketing purposes, right?
Yep. Probably.
Who the hell's ever given a 5 to 12 week span?
It's a broken bone in your foot, and they have to take it out. Like, you ain't coming back in 5 weeks, bro.
Yeah.
That's 3 months.
I just talked to the doctor. He says I have between 6 months and 38 years to live. But what? So let's go ahead and start the gauntlet. September 12th kicks it all off. They're at home against San Francisco. 1:00 kickoff, which is to their advantage. There'll be San Francisco at Green Bay, at home against Baltimore, and at Chicago. How do they go in that first 4 stretch?
I think they go 2-2. I have them beating. This will be weird. I have them beating on the bookends. I think they'll actually beat the Niners in the opening game. Again, we got a lot west to east noon kickoffs. Is always a huge red flag. We talk about it all the time on the handicappers. I still don't believe in Garoppolo. I don't know what Kyle Shanahan's doing. Mad scientist out there. He's going to start, seems like he's going to have packages for Trey Lance. But listen, this team's going to come out of the tunnel fired up and ready to eat some kneecaps.
Is that like a Cuomo kind of packages, or is it?
No, you can't bring up Cuomo. Stop it. I think they
won an Emmy, man. He's great.
Yeah, it's great. I think they lose at Green Bay, and I don't see them beating Baltimore at home. But I think they can win the Niners game and the at Chicago game in the bookends. I think they start off 2-2. Everybody's pretty happy about where things are going, and then the next 4 games are super interesting because a couple of these teams I'm really low on this year.
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to lose the Chicago game because.
Fields will be in by then. He might be in by week 1.
Well, they're going to play Green Bay on a Monday night. They're going to turn around and play Baltimore on short rest, and they always wear people out. I think they're going to just be wore out by the time they go to Chicago. Okay. Then you got at Minnesota, Cincinnati, at LA, and at home against Philadelphia takes you to the bye week. Where are they at that point?
I got them at 4-4. I think they definitely win the Philadelphia game. And I'm a little bit split as to whether I think they have a better chance of winning in Minnesota or at home against Cincinnati, but I'm going to say Cincinnati. Just because I'm not buying that Jamar Chase is going to make all the difference. Their offensive line still isn't very good. Obviously at the Rams is tough. I mean, Stafford, if he's still upright at that point, because he's made out of tissue paper too, he might try and put 700 yards on him. But that's just a tough game for them to win. The Rams are so deep. Ramsey knows Goff like the back of his hand, so they're going to have to try and run the ball 45 times. I just don't see how they win that game. But I got them 4-4 going into the bye, which hey, I think most Lions fans would take that.
Okay, they go to Pittsburgh. This is coming off the bye. They go to Pittsburgh, at Cleveland, a short week on Thanksgiving weekend at home against Chicago, and then a long week getting ready for Minnesota at home. Where are they at that point?
I got them at 6-6. I do not think they have a chance to win either at Pittsburgh or at Cleveland. I may actually try to go to the Cleveland game. That's highly ill-advised. So my wife's trying to talk me into going to the Atlanta game instead, which we'll talk about in a minute. Just because me in Ohio wearing a Michigan hat and flying stuff is never a good idea. But home for Chicago again. We always play well on Thanksgiving. At least it's a day game. And then home for Minnesota. I'm really down on Minnesota. I mean, I don't know where that falls in the queue of the teams we're doing this year. And if that's my day or someone else's, but I'm not a big fan of Minnesota at all this year. I think they're in big, big trouble. And I think by that point, the Bears may have, the Bears are really thin on defense, like really thin. It's Khalil Mack and nothing. So at that point of the year, usually injuries start to creep in. But the Lions always get up for the Thanksgiving game. Always.
If I forget, send me a text reminder. I'll send you the rest of the Wednesday breakdowns because I've got them all drawn out. I just haven't overloaded anyone with all the text, but I guess I really should give you all the heads up so you have, when you have downtime, you can look over the teams. I just didn't want someone to get a text go, Christ Almighty, you gave me 3017. What the hell's going on here? It's like, well, it's broken.
It's better than when we do the NFL draft every year and we're like, that guy was picked 3 weeks ago. We need a Google Doc for that in the future.
This is the fourth time we've broken down Middle Tennessee. Okay. So after that, you've got 5 more games on the docket: at Denver, at home against Arizona, at Atlanta, at Seattle, and then home against Green Bay. Where are they at?
So
that's a rough
after the Minnesota game, I've got them actually going 2-1 in those next 3 games. I don't think they'll win in Denver. But Arizona is not somebody I'm high on this year. And the Falcons could be, at that point, they could be starting like people from Georgia Tech just to try and get the number 1 pick because they're going to need a quarterback. So if I've got them 6-6, at that point, I would have them at 8-7 going into the final 2 weeks. I think they finished the season at 8-9. That is my lofty high side prediction. At Seattle is not a game I think they can win. And the Packers might be the best team in the NFC. I mean, we'll see as the season progresses, but Rodgers revenge tour, they added some pieces to the defense. I don't love the proposition of them beating Green Bay in either matchup this year. So I got them finishing at 8-9. I'll tell you what, if he goes 8-9 in his first season, there are going to be parades for Dan Campbell. That is absolutely a win. I don't know that there's a losing season, aside from them going like 3-14 and Goff getting murdered in week 1. But
here's the one thing you got to think about that Green Bay game, though. If Green Bay is as good as everyone thinks they're going to be,
they might have packed it in. Yeah.
That game is going to mean nothing. I have the Detroit Lions in 2021 going 10-7.
Ooh.
And that will put them in the conversation for the wild card. A lot of things will have to happen back and forth, and we'll do these predictions later on, but that's where I have them. I think the games that they are going to win that a lot of people don't think they're going to win, I think they'll beat Philadelphia at home. I think they'll beat Chicago. I think they'll beat Chicago on Thanksgiving. I think they can go into Denver and beat Denver. I think that the Green Bay game at home will be a win because of what I just said. So I think they've got a chance, but 8-9, I could see them going 7-10. I don't think this is going to be one of these perennial 3-14 teams like you were just saying. I think this team's pretty good. I think they're going to have. I have more faith in Goff being a game manager, a winner, not a fantasy football draft, and that defense in the way they'll play. is what I have. All right, real quick, we're gonna have to do Michigan State because we're not gonna have because we're running out of time. But essentially, Michigan State. What say you on the Spartans?
Yeah, really quick. I mean, D'Antonio put Mel Tucker in a horrible spot by leaving them high and dry, taking the check, and then diving out of the plane as it was nosediving with his parachute strapped to his back. I mean, they're somewhere between a 70 and 85 team in Athlon's rankings. I don't have anything that says I can disagree with that. They're counting a lot on the quarterback play of a graduate transfer from Temple. That tells you everything you need to know about how behind the eight ball Tucker is. But he's a recruiter. He's going to get that program back in good standing. It's just going to take him some time. And their schedule is pretty brutal. I mean, they open at Northwestern, week 3 at Miami in the Gardens, which is not great. Even you're out of conference. I mean, you're bringing in Western Kentucky, who I see a lot, being here in Murfreesboro and seeing MTSU play them. And Western Kentucky's no fluke. They're no slouch. I mean, they're going to run some weird stuff.
State has put some hurtings on some people.
Exactly. So I've got them as a 4-win team. I don't think they can really get any higher than that. I mean, it's going to be a long road to hoe for Tucker. But he's the guy that's up to it. I mean, I love the work he did in Colorado. You and I did not understand him leaving Colorado for this job, but
I would have stayed in Colorado. I think they could possibly pull off one win that they're not expected to, but that's it. So 4 or 5 wins. I mean, I can't argue that. They're Penn State, Ohio State, Miami, at Indiana, Michigan.
Tough.
They're not winning any of those games. And I don't think they'll win at Rutgers. And I don't think they'll win at Purdue. I think they're going to be a team that's going to get, hopefully, Youngstown State. That's going to be a big W. Be honest with you, the Northwestern game, they need to circle that the first night of the season for them, Friday, September 3rd. They kind of need to get that W because they may not get many more. Western Kentucky, I'm searching for that 4th win, but I figured they'll get one somewhere and maybe 5, but I don't believe they'll be bowl eligible. All right, let's go ahead and turn back time and do our walk-offs here on another edition. By the way, the turn back time or this date in history that I did on is dropping here at 9:30 for the take me out to the ball game. That one's pretty good, but the one yesterday, if you missed that, y'all, that's a really good this date in history. That story is incredible. All right, let's go ahead and oops, wait, I'm on the wrong thing. All right, on this date, this thing will load for me. All right, on this date in 1996, how old were you, young squire? Around 20-ish?
19. Yeah, I was born in 77. So
Jim Bunning, Earl Weaver, Bill Foster, and Ned Hanlon were all inducted into the Hall of Fame. Earl Weaver's one of my favorite coaches of all time of any sport. I grew up on him, watching him get ejected. I just thought he was funny as hell. Also on this date in 2012, Serena Williams smokes Maria Sharapova in the women's singles for the U.S. gold. In turn, Sharapova smokes everybody when she's just walking around. I miss Sharapova, man. I don't care if she wasn't any good. She was, as I think it's Timus that always says, she was fun to look at. All right, I'm sorry, birthdays.
It's your birthday today.
Wow. All right, dead guy. We'll do the dead guy first. How about Maurice Rocket Ricard? You say that, and you know damn good and well that's got to be a hockey player. Canadian NHL All-Star. He played for the Canadiens. Was the MVP of the league in 47. Passed away in 2000. So if he were alive today, he never would have made it. 100 years. 100-year birthday. One more guy, because this is one of my favorite managers as well. Dallas Green was born on this date in 1934. All right, guys, we're alive, and this links into what I talk about on the this date in history on Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Roger Clemens is Wow, man. Say it ain't so, Joe. Roger Clemens is 59 years old today.
Of all the people that have been shamed by the steroids era, he's the one that hacks me off the most because there's just a lot of circumstantial evidence, but he never failed to drug test anything, and they're just going to keep him out of the Hall of Fame. He's the greatest pitcher of all time, in my lifetime, anyways.
Yeah, but yet at the same token, damn good and that he did steroids, because only someone with roid rage would throw a bat at Piazza. Also, happy. Wow, he was 57th. God, no way. 57th birthday to one of the most overrated players in the history of fantasy baseball. I know this because I was playing back in the 80s. BJ Surhoff. Born in the Bronx.
Brewers great, BJ Surhoff.
Lost all reason to draft him when they took him at a catcher and put him in the outfield. Yep. What is your walk-off for the day?
My walk-off for today is about my trip to Atlanta this weekend. It was a great time. Anybody who hasn't been to the National College Football Hall of Fame, you should really go. I mean, I stood in front of this Woody Hayes mural for 5 minutes because I had completely forgotten about this quote, although I'm sure I've heard it 100 times in my life. When he beat Michigan 50-14 in 1968, and he went for 2 at the end of the game, and they said, "Why'd you go for 2?" And he said, "Because I couldn't go for 3. It still, to this day, cracks me up and explains the 10-year war probably better than anything else. There was a lot of good stuff there. It's a little hokey and it's a little over, it's a little overpriced, but I got a lot of great pictures, a lot of great stuff. There's some great Florida State stuff in there I need to send to you. Just a good time. So if you're in, my favorite Southern city, which Atlanta is, check out the Chick-fil-A National College Football Hall of Fame. It's right there by, Olympic Park. You can't miss it. It's just a good time. And everybody enjoy the games tonight, wrapping up the Olympics, and then it's on to football season. It's only, we got no Sundays left without football until February, which is just tickles me with joy.
The Looters didn't miss the Hall of Fame. That's for damn sure. I'm glad to hear that they've built it back, because that one really pissed me off. My walk-off for the day is Braves Cardinals. Braves are going to be very close to first place when I see you Saturday morning for the handicappers.
Yeah, they are.
I don't know if we'll be in first place, but we'll be very close to it. And I've said this for a while now. It's the Phillies we got to worry about. The Mets are going to tank. The Mets do not have the pieces, and I was shocked that they didn't do more than they did at the trading deadline. Javi Baez is not fixing anything. Javi Baez is a very streaky hitter. He's a good defender.
Yep.
But he's just a rah-rah guy. He's a guy you bring in if you need an extra piece. He's not a guy to bring in to save you.
He's got a 40% strikeout rate since the beginning of 2020.
That's
like
crazy.
That's four out of every 10 at-bats. You can, that's my issue with, I don't come on Braves country as much as I would like to, but that's my issue with Dansby is he's realized that the way you get paid is to hit home runs. So it's just strikeout or home run for him now. He's a good clutch hitter, but are the Braves going to give him 5 years, $100 million? God, I hope not.
Who, Dansby?
No, absolutely not. Not when you could pay David Fletcher or somebody to play competent shortstop and bat in your leadoff spot. Give that money to Freddie. It's just like
Dansby, when he becomes a free agent, will be lucky to average around 10 to 12 a year, because he just got too many holes in the game.
He'll get signed by the Rangers. The Rangers will give him 6 years,
or he signs
$85 million or something.
Or he signs a very club-friendly deal and stays in Atlanta. That would be my prediction. All right, the Take Me Out to the Ball game is dropping right now, so we will see. And then Saturday, Sean and I and Joey and Steven will be there with the handicappers. Looking forward to this one, Sean, because we'll finally do a 3-man mock draft, and I want to try to do. We're gonna play with it. I want to try to do a salary cap one, see how far we can get through one. Those are a pain in the ass sometimes, but so we're gonna have to probably take a very short league. But I want to see if we can get a salary cap one squeezed in. We'll get through like 3 rounds and have to
leave.
There'll be the one computer that's outbidding everybody. All right, brother. We'll see you on see you on Saturday.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another cigarette and please